Holy Spirit, we know you're here. And so whatever you're walking in with today, we carry these burdens, these things on our mind. And so by the power of God, we just pray right now, Holy Spirit, would you rest on us right now? That from on the top of our head, rest our minds, give us peace. To our shoulders, just breathe and drop your shoulders. And allow God to start getting to your heart. Lord, take me out of this morning. God, speak whatever you want to your sons and daughters today. And so speak through your word to us today, God. Help us receive the gift that you have for us today. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, I do want to say Happy Father's Day to the dads here. But I also want to say Happy Father's Day to those single moms. I want to say Happy Father's Day to, yes, go ahead. I want to say Happy Father's Day to the big brothers. To the cousins, to the uncles, to the big sisters that try to step in, right? And be that surrogate father. For those of us that didn't have that growing up, I know that today can be a day of joy and a day of pain. And so I want to say thank you. Thank you for being those people stepping in, whether you're that dad or you're that single mom or whoever you were in that story. Thank you. But I also want to say thank you, and Pastor Dave didn't ask me to say this. I said it in the first service. I'll say it again. You guys have a special church. And so I look, amen. And so when I go to churches, I love the body of Christ. I love the church, but it also can frustrate me. Anybody? Yeah. And so when I get around a church that's healthy, it's a blessing to me. Right. And there's a couple things about this church that I just want you to understand. You care about the right things. And here's how I know is because we came up here to put on this manhood camp. We stood on the stage. We had kids sleeping on your grass. We used every part of this building. And a lot of churches don't do that. They don't want these kids coming from the urban center coming up here. Don't mess up my chairs. Don't mess up my stage. What if they steal something? There was none of that. There was only open and welcoming. And I want to say thank you for that. I sat over here with a young man and we said, hey, share with each other your father's story. And he broke down as he told me for the first time in his life, anybody, of all the abuse that he's been experiencing. That was freedom right here. Later on, I blessed that young man up here. And you know what he said to me? He was so precious because he was like 11. And you know 11-year-olds are a little awkward. No offense if anybody's 11. But, you know, and I go, how are you feeling? He goes, man, I feel good. I feel light right here. He was experiencing freedom. You opened up the door for that. You welcomed us. You said that spirit has been here. And so I thank you for that. I thank you that my homeboy Eric, who's the youth pastor here, that half of this building is given to the children and the youth. It's like over half of it. And usually they get the jankiest room, you know what I mean, at a church. They're like, hey, just keep them in here, don't let them out. Because they're going to mess up something. And yet this church says, no, we welcome them. This is a priority. I see it by the way you spend money, by the way that you use things. And so I want to say thank you. So thank you. And then lastly, you care about worshiping God. We spent 40 minutes in worship. That is beautiful. So you have a great church, and thank you for leading it. Thank you to all you who are kingdom leaders here. So I'm excited to be here. I grew up in the 80s, and during then we were there's this term called broken families. Anybody? You know, they're like, well, are you from a broken family? You know, and I'm like, yeah, I am. And then there's another term called the latchkey kid. Anybody? Right? So I had that little key. I didn't carry it around on a, you know, I wasn't trying to make a necklace out of it, but I had it in my pocket. So I was a latchkey kid. And my dad was in and out up until I was about 9. He had stepped out on my mom, and so there was some infidelity there. And then he was kind of in and out. And then right before I was 10, he left for good. I saw him a couple weekends, but then he moved down to Mexico, started another family, and he went and did that. He missed every single one of my me playing sports, every single one of my games. Never came to any of my graduations. In fact, I graduated, I didn't see him for 7 years. And so after I graduated college, a couple weeks after, I'm opening the door to my apartment, and I walk in, and he's sitting on my couch. He's like, hey, son. I'm like, what are you doing in my house? You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, okay. So on Father's Day is a painful day for me. It's a painful day. But see, God had blessed me with that grace for that surrogate. my mom decided to stick around. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't realize the sacrifice that she was making. Because if I would have behaved differently. Anybody? I've been suspended from every school I've ever been to, including the Christian college I went to. I'm still growing. Okay, give me some grace, people. Okay, I'm still growing in the Lord. All right. So my mom though worked in that school district that I got suspended from so often. So I would call her and I have to be like, "Hey, Mom, I got suspended again." And one time I called her. I said, "Hey, Mom, I got suspended again," and there was just silence on the phone, and I was like, "Hello?" And she's like, "I'm here." You know what I mean? She was just so mad she couldn't speak. You know what I mean? She's just like, "Just shut your mouth," you know. And so I was like, I didn't know. You know, one time I sassed her in a store or something. I was just being a jerk, and she said, "You better get away from me right now. Get away from me." And so I was like, "All right, we in the store though." And so I went to the toy aisle, and I just kind of stood there. And then I was like, oh shoot, she's checking out. She's checking out. And so then I followed her out to the car. She didn't even say, she never looked back. She was just like, "I'm out of here." And so I followed her to the car. Luckily the door, she unlocked it, so I jumped in real quick. and anyway, she took care of me later when we got home. But I don't mean that in a nice way. So I'm giving all this trouble to my mom, and then I grow up and have my own kids. And I recognize my mom, you know, and this isn't a judgment on anybody else, but for my mom, she had decided at some point between her and God that she wasn't going to get remarried until later. And so I'm growing up, and she never went on a date. I never really saw her do anything for herself, honestly. We didn't go on vacation, we didn't have money. You know, she wasn't like pampering herself. She wasn't like, "Boy, I got to go out with my girlfriends." I was like, "Do you have friends, Mom? Because all I see you do is work. You work and you take care of me." And then I remember times of waking up and she'd just be like in my room. I'm like, "You good, Mom?" She's like, "Yeah, honey, just go back to bed." She was sitting there praying over me at night. And she did that a lot. Because normally I didn't wake up. And so she's there doing that. And she gave up time and energy and dreams and hopes. Why? Because God had blessed her with this son. And this son's father decided not to join in on that blessing. And she's like, "I'm going to sacrifice so I can see this young man become the man he was created to be." And so my mom, I didn't start to understand the gift because I didn't understand the sacrifice. Because when I was little, I was just like, I'm a kid. I'm like, I don't know, you know. "Hey, Mom, is there food? Here's some food. Thanks." You know. Well, I didn't say thanks. I was like, "Where the food at?" Right? All the places she drove me to, all the time she spent worrying about me, all the prayers, all the money, all the talks. Man, we have a lot of talks, you know what I mean? You know, all the grace that she gave me. And so I constantly call my mom now and I go, "Hey, Mom, I'm sorry. Hey, remember when I was 15? I'm really sorry about that. Hey, remember, you know, a couple weeks ago, I hadn't called you in a couple weeks? I'm sorry about that." I'm still apologizing. Because I'm starting to recognize the gift, because I'm starting to recognize the sacrifice. And so I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about, as I'm in my time with the Lord and following Jesus, I started thinking about the gospel, the good news. And you and I, many of us in here know that the gospel is really this good news that because we've sinned, then there's this issue between us and God, and that He's a God of justice. So he's going to be right. He's just. And the people that we want to see punished for the bad things that they've done to us, we also have to recognize, shoot, I should probably be punished for the bad things that I've done. This is justice, right? It's not for just us. Okay? So there's justice. God is just, but He's also loving. So how do you work that paradox out? How are you going to be loving but then punish me? I don't understand that, God. What's the answer to that? And the answer is found in Jesus Christ. Because Jesus comes down and lives a perfect life, and He says, "I'll take the punishment for that." That's the gospel, right? We know that. Good job, Pastor Jay. You're teaching the gospel. So we know that, and I've always thought about that. I'm like, Jesus, man, I love Jesus because Jesus understands my pain. Jesus comes down and He lives my life. You know, he understands what it's like to be an immigrant. He went to Egypt. He understands what it's like to be an oppressed people group in their own country. Hello.
That's right.
He understands about injustice and how the Romans treated the Jews. He understands what it's like to have family not believe in you. He understands what it's like to have friends stab you in the back. He understands what it's like to be homeless, to not have a place to lay his head. He understands, like, this is the God that I follow because he's relevant to my life. He knows what it's like not to have a dad. I don't know what happened to Joseph. You ever notice that? It talks about Joseph, and then all of a sudden he starts his ministry. Where's he at? His brothers are there. His mom is there. Where's Joseph? So I don't know what happened to him. But I know this. He understands what happened, what I feel like when my dad wasn't around. This is the God that I serve. He's not some like esoteric like thing out somewhere else that doesn't understand my pain. And he's like, hey, you should just meditate your way out of that. That's not my God. Yeah. And so I love Jesus about that. And we always think about Jesus on the cross and what he did because this is the moment in history, right? But I never thought about it from the Father's point of view. And so from the Father's point of view, I started thinking about this. And so Proverbs 8 says this. It says that, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and my delight was with the sons of men. It's poetry, and Jesus is talking, and he's saying, hey, look it, the Father's delight is in me, the Son, and the Son's delight, Jesus, is in you. Jesus is the one that created you. You know that, right? If you go to Genesis 1 and John 1, you'll figure that out. He was the Word. When he spoke the Word, he created me. And so Jesus is like, man, I love Tommy. I'm going to create Tommy. I knit you in your mother's womb. He's the one that created me, right? And so he loves me, but guess what? He loves me like that. That's where his delight is found in me. And yet the Father's delight is what found in the Son. And so this is what I love about this, is that when I started thinking about this through the lens of the love of the Father, and I want to walk you through this part in with the gospel, with the cross of Christ, but I want to do it from the perspective of the Father. And so we know that there are 6 hours of Jesus on the cross. And they're broken up into 2 3-hour slots. Now the first 3 hours is this. Is Jesus is going through immense pain on the cross. And he's sitting there and he's been beaten to a pulp. And then he's nailed to this cross and raised up. He's having a hard time breathing. And that's the physical pain. If you've ever watched The Passion of the Christ. It's brutal. You see what Jesus did for that and go, man, thank you, Jesus, for that. But maybe what you don't understand is this. Is that God the Father gave Satan a certain amount of time to come and attack Jesus. Did you know that? And I know that because in Genesis 3:15 it talks about, and immediately when humanity falls and we make the wrong choice, because you need choice to have love. You know that, right? Have you ever wondered, like, man, why is God so messed up? Put a tree in the garden and it's messed up. No, that's necessary. Because you can't have love if you don't have choice. And God only gave, he's like, hey, look, man, there's only one sin. Wouldn't you love if there's only one sin? Brothers and sisters, they were running around the garden naked. You know what I mean? And there's only one sin. Just don't eat of the tree. You have to have that choice. And so we choose wrong. And immediately Jesus has the answer. He's like, man, he tells Satan, he goes, you will bruise his heel. He's talking about himself. But he will crush your head. Immediately he goes, I've got it. You messed up. The cross. He had the plan, man. And so he goes, so he knows that there's a certain amount of time that he was going to bruise his heel. This is that time in history. And so Jesus says in John 14:30, he says, I will no longer talk much with you, for the ruler of this world is coming. His time is coming. He has no claim on me. And then in Luke 22:52 and 53, he says, then Jesus said to the chief priests and officers of the temple and elders who would come out against him, have you come out as a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you day after day in the temple, you did not lay hands on me. Here it is. But this is your hour and the power of darkness. Another version says, but this hour and the power of darkness are yours. He's talking about a specific time that God set aside for him to bruise his heel, to attack the Son. And so there are those three definite articles used, the definite articles used there: the hour, the power, and the darkness. It's Satan's turn. And he has 3 hours. So Jesus on that cross, he's hurting physically, and here comes Satan and all his demons, and he's like, we're going to get this guy. And I'm going to pour out every vile and ugly and hurtful and painful thing that evil can come up with, and I'm going to pour it out on Jesus. You see, Jesus also understands. You might say, I don't think Jesus ever got molested. And that happened when I was a kid. Yes, he did. It was on the cross. Every ugly and evil thing that's ever been done to you was done to Jesus on that cross. Because Satan had his shot. And he was going to, if you better believe that he was going to bring all his demonic forces, all his power. And he was going to hit Jesus with everything he got. So Jesus understands what you've been through. And so he's sitting there and he's taking it. And so there's this 3 hours of attack from Satan. And Satan is consumed by hate, and he unleashes that on Jesus. Man, I thank God for Jesus, but check this out. If you're talking about from the perspective of the Father has to sit there and watch this. God the Father is watching the Son go through this horrific experience from evil, from our enemy, from Satan. Can you imagine that, fathers? Sitting there watching something like that happen to your child? I have 4 daughters. They're 10, 8, 5, and 4. Please pray for me. I love them. They're wonderful. No, I was not trying to work, for that son. We were trying for children. I'm 100% accurate, okay? So I have these daughters, and I read the statistic that said 1 in 4 girls will be sexually abused before they're 18. 1 in 4. And as that hits me, and I just recognize how rampant that kind of evil is, I think about that, and I think about what would happen if I walked in on something like that happening to my daughters. Better post some bail, because I'm not that sanctified yet. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't know what I would do. I would just rage. I would hope that God would give me the self-control, the fruit of the Spirit, to react in a godly way, but in a right way in that moment. But here's the reality. Is God the Father sitting there watching these things happen to his Son, and he sees the spiritual reality of that, and he stops, and he holds back. And he allows that to happen. And then during the midst of all this is happening to Jesus. Jesus does a couple things, and it blows my mind. One, all this evil is happening to him, and Jesus blesses others in the midst of it. Luke 23:34 says, and Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they cast lots to divide his garments. The reason Jesus is on that cross is because of you and me. It's because of the people that are shooting dice and gambling for this man's clothes. How disrespectful is that? And yet in the midst of that, God in all his power restrains his power, is watching this. And what does Jesus do? He goes, God, forgive them. And in the midst of that, for the love of the Father goes, I will. I will. And he listens to the Son in these moments while Jesus is dying for you and me. Oh man, think of the goodness of the Father to listen to the Son in those moments. To the people that put him on that cross in the first place. This is the love of the Father. That he would love us that much. I have to confess something. Can I confess it to you? Okay, kind of. I have this sick daydream of my girls, and it has to do on the playground. So I have this dream of some little boy. It's always this little boy trying to punk one of my girls. Just being bullying to him, maybe push him down or something, throw sand at him. They tell him to stop and he won't do it, and he kind of tries to do something physical to them. And I have this daydream that I really hope that my other girls would see that, come around mob this little boy and just beat him up. Okay? Again, I'm not sanctified fully yet, so I'm struggling with these things, you know what I mean? But I literally like think, man, that would be so awesome. You know what I mean? I'd be so proud of my girls, you know? I'd be like, good job, and then I'm like, and then I read in the Bible, it says, love your enemies. I'm like, dang it, Lord. But wasn't that awesome? You know what I mean? Like, I just want my girls to be strong, you know what I mean? And you know, fight for each other. And so I know that's not fully right, but man, that's what I hope that they would do that for each other. And yet, God is sitting there and he's allowing these things to I dream about this stuff. God experiences it in the most deep way, and he restrains his power. And Jesus, amongst that, starts to bless others. And then in Luke 23, 39 through 43, he even forgives the criminal next to him. It says one of the criminals were hanged, railed at him, saying, are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us. But the other rebuked him, saying, do you not fear God, since you're under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong. And he said to Jesus, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And he said to him, truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. He forgives this dude that because of his sins put him on that cross in the first place. But think of it from the Father's perspective, that the Father is there, and he goes, Father, forgive him. The Father forgives him because he says, you know what? You're going to be with me in paradise today. That's incredible. That's like my daughter's leading that little boy who's punking him to Jesus instead of beating him up. How sick is my heart? Because I don't understand the sacrifice. I don't understand the gift. When I understand the sacrifice and I receive the gift, my life changes and I start to think differently. I don't have messed up daydreams like that anymore. I react differently to people. I live in a different way. I respond to the gift that was given to me because I understand the sacrifice. And so this is incredible. That because of us, Jesus on that cross, and yet he cries out to the Father, forgive them, and he says, I will. God the Father is good. You see, God delights in the Son. He loves the Son so much, and this is what the Son wanted. Because he wanted to make us sons and daughters. So here's the second 3 hours show up. So imagine this. This is the pinnacle of all human history in a spiritual sense and in the physical sense. And so every demon was going to be there with Satan. But also every angel was going to be there as well. And so I want to set this up for you because think about this. Jesus on that cross. All the angels are there and there's thousands of them. Jesus says that he can call legions down. That's thousands and thousands of angels. So you have thousands of angels that are sitting there and they're bred for war. You understand? Like they're like, let me in on this. And they're watching God the Father allow these demons to pour out all this stuff on the Son. And they're like, are you messing around, God? Like, you let me know and we're going to get down on some demons. I will arrest these dudes. And they're ready and they're sitting there and they're like, I'm ready to go. And yet God, because he has the authority, holds them back. Wait. The next 3 hours after Jesus experiences all that deeply evil and ugly, vile things, now God the Father shows up. And I think all the angels would have been like, oh man, God the Father's here now. Just let me go. We got this, God. And they had no idea what God was going to do. And God the Father comes out of his love for the Son because the Son wants us to be sons and daughters. And he comes and he's not there to rescue Jesus. The Father God is there to exact justice on the Son for what you and I have done. And God the Father sits there and is like, I'm not here to rescue you, son. I want to get you off that cross. I love you so much. But because I love you, this is a gift for you because you love these people so much. I'm here and I'm about to pour my wrath and my justice on you. Imagine all the bad things that's ever happened to you in your life. Imagine the justice that you hope for the people that have hurt you. Don't you yearn for that? Don't you yearn for justice in our country? When someone takes another person's life and you do not get justice? And yet, God the Father's there is like, I'm going to exact justice. I'm here to bring justice, but I'm going to pour it out on the Son. And so instead of telling the angels to jack up some demons, he's like, hey, we need to pour out my wrath on the Son. I mean, if I was an angel, I would have just been like, what? This is my God? Like, what? And God unleashes his wrath on Jesus. And he takes all the justice, all the ways that you can imagine someone being punished for the horrible things that they've done. Jesus took it for you and me. Amen. Can you imagine what that would have been like for the Father, though? He delights in the Son. Do you think he would have delighted in doing that to the Son? Absolutely not. But his love is so great, not only for the Son, but for us, that he would do that to the Son, so that you and I could be right with God, so that our stuff could be taken care of, so that I could come into the throne room and pray at any time and say, God, I need your help. God, are we good? God, forgive me. And he says, yes, son. Yes, daughter, always. You are welcome into here because of what the Son did for you. That was worth it to him. You are worth it for that. God the Father loves you so much because he loves the Son. And he would do that. You see, Isaiah 53:4 says, surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, talking about Jesus, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. So this happened. Scripture affirms all of this that I'm telling you today. Every punishment that you have ever hoped for against people who have done evil was poured out on Christ. Matthew 27:46 says, and about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? So imagine this, that this whole thing, the first 3 hours, attacked from the evil one. The second 3 hours is God's justice poured out on him. And what's interesting is the first 3 hours, Jesus is talking, and he's blessing people. And he even says to his disciple, he says, hey, take care of my mom. I love that. I love that because, man, thanks for caring about my mom, Jesus. And he's like, hey, take care of my mom. And I'm like, if I'm experiencing all that, why would I think about other people? And yet he does. The second 3 hours, he stays silent. Why? Because he respects the justice that God is doing, and he wants it because he loves you so much. And then next, it gets even worse. God's love gets even deeper. God the Father then separates himself from the Son. And he turns his back and he walks away. And at that point, Jesus cries out, why have you forsaken me? Don't leave me. And God turns his back on the Son. Imagine that there's a separation between the Father and the Son. Now, what we don't understand is this, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. They've been together for eternity. And there's this one time where they separated, where God the Father said no, and he separates himself because he who knew no sin became sin, and God is too holy. So when he becomes sin, he turns his back on him, pours out his wrath, turns his back on Jesus, and they separate. Never experience that. And Jesus cries out, why have you forsaken me? No! And then he gives up his spirit, and he dies for us. We don't understand the gift if we don't understand the sacrifice. And so then Jesus, it is finished, it is paid in full, and it is done. When we understand the sacrifice, it helps us receive and understand the gift. But check this out, friends. This was ultimately a gift to the Son. John 6:37 says, Jesus says this, all that the Father gives me will come to me. And whoever comes to me, I will never cast out. For I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of him who sent me, that I should lose nothing of all that he has given me, but raise it up on the last day. Who is he talking about? He's talking about you and me. Absolutely. He's like, God's like, okay, son, you want these people so bad? I will give them to you. Here it is. I will do all this stuff out of love for you because you love these people. They're a gift to you. And here's the beautiful thing. Then Jesus turns back around, and what does he do? He presents us as a gift back to the Father. Where we go, one day we'll be in heaven in the fully realized kingdom. And what are we going to do? We're going to simply worship to the Father. You see that kind of loving relationship that the Father and the Son have? And they're just like, Son, I love you so much. Here you go. And the Son's like, Dad, you're amazing. I give it right back to you. And it's like that, back and forth. They're like, no, you, no, you, no, you, no, you, no, I love you, no, I love you. It's this beautiful picture of this thing, but on a monumental scale. And I go, gosh, that's the Father I've always wanted. That's the Son that I've always wanted to be. Isn't that true for you? Whether you're a son or a daughter, isn't that the kind of child you want to be? The kind of parent that you want to have? And yet we have one because he's done everything he needs to do for us to be in a relationship with him. Thank you, God. I didn't fully understand the sacrifice. And so therefore I haven't fully received the gift of the gospel. It's good news. My mom actually sent me this quote. I loved it. Talking about this gift, this exchange between the Father and the Son. Far beyond our capability to understand completely. Dealing with, here it is, intra-Trinitarian expressions of love that are ultimately unfathomable. Friends, if the Trinity has ever been hard for you to understand, you're in good company. God by himself is community. He doesn't need you, yet he wants you. He is love. Why? Because he's this Trinity. He's these three distinct persons in one. And they love each other so much, and in ways that just blow my mind. It's unfathomable. And I get to have eternity with them to understand it. And so when we think about this has changed everything for us. It changes. The gospel is not something that you get at a camp or on a Sunday morning, and one time you hear it and you're like, yeah, that sounds good, I accept that, cool. And then you move on with your life. Because if you don't understand the sacrifice, you're not receiving the gift. And yet, I accepted Jesus when I was younger, and I've been living this, and yet every day I discover something new about the gospel. I'm like, oh my gosh, God, you are so good. You love me so much. I want to give my life. I want to respond back to this thing that I understand in a deeper way today, better than I did yesterday, and I'm moving forward in it. And he's like, come on, get to know me, get to know me. And yet there are things that are stopping us this morning from it. You have barriers in here this morning that are stopping you from fully accepting the Father's love for you. Maybe you're in here and you're like, Jesus is cool. The Holy Spirit's amazing. God the Father, no, man, he's just there to punish people. No, that's because you and I don't understand the sacrifice. See, it's not just for that one time, but God continues to redeem. And continue to express and understand the gospel and what the gift that he's given me. I want to share a story with you. I didn't share this first service, so you guys are special. A couple months ago, I have 4 children, and we were done. You know, I have 4 children feels like a lot of children, and especially when I'm living in the house with them. So I have 4 children, and a couple months ago, we found out my wife's pregnant. Yeah, that's not how I felt when we found out, but we were like, oh my gosh, you're pregnant? Oh man, we started thinking about this, and it's crazy. A couple months goes by, we go and we find out what it is. Now I have 4 girls, and I love my girls. But guess what? There's a little boy coming. And so we have this little boy coming in November. I'm trying not to cry, but Jesus makes me cry. This is what it is, man. So we have this little boy coming in November, and it hits me. I'm 38 years old. My dad was 38 when he had me. Do you realize that I've reconciled with my dad? We're good. It's because I read Scripture, and it convicted me, and I went and sought him out, and I worked through the process of forgiveness and reconciliation. We're straight. I'm the only one of his 5 children that he wasn't there for. And yet, I'm the one that's like, hey, Dad, we're cool, man. I love you. I sent him an email today. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Without any hint of bitterness or anger. Hey, I love you. Okay, so that in itself is a miracle. God's healed me, friends, and he can heal you too. If you're not feeling that way about your dad and a broken relationship, he can do that. I'm a witness to that. But check this out. God goes, no, Tommy, there's still hurt and pain in your life. There's still that scar from that. And I'm going to bless you with this little boy. every day. God wants to redeem every day that I didn't have my dad with this little boy. Like, awesome. Like, God, why would you be that nice to me? Like, why do you want to give me that kind of gift? Why? Because he's a good father. He's good. Like, he can't help it. This is it's just who he is. And he's like, man, because you responded, Tommy. You're open to my love. And you're receiving it. And man, I want to take every day that your dad wasn't there, and I want to redeem it. And I felt like I didn't do that. I didn't feel like, oh man, I'm deficient. Oh man. No, I was like, no, I'm a son of God. I'm good. My dad's a son of God. He just didn't really experience that. And I love him. And yet God's like, no, Tommy, I want to redeem it every day. There's a verse in Joel that says, God will restore the years the locusts have eaten. And if you have lived in years of famine and desert and pain and hurt, God the Father's like, no, I didn't go through all that with the Son. I didn't sacrifice all this stuff just so you can continue to live in the desert. I want to redeem it. And I want to redeem it for a purpose, Tommy. It's not just so that I'm good and I'm like, cool, I'm good. No, it's for those young men that were here on Friday and Saturday. It's for the people I work with. It's for my neighbors. It's for those gangbangers in my neighborhood that I care about. It's for all the people I run into. Because I go, listen, God changed my life. God the Father doesn't hate you. He's not angry at you. He loves you. He's given it all up for you. He sacrificed. You don't get that. And we walk around going like, oh yeah, I heard the gospel. Have you? Have you heard it? Do you understand the sacrifice and the gift that God wants to give you? And yes, I've heard it a million times, and it still blows me away. And so, friends, I just want to say that God is here and he wants to redeem. And he said everything